everybody, I hope you're having a great day. Silver Trade here again with another video. And just to start things off, yesterday on October 7th was the day that people were supposed to get their warrants. You're supposed to get one warrant for every 10 shares of GameStop that you owned. Sadly, that hasn't been the case for everybody. And then today on October 8th is when those GMEWS warrants are supposed to start moving on the New York Stock Exchange. Right here it says, we intend to apply for the warrants to be listed on the NYSE to facilitate such trading, which may begin under ticker symbol GMEWS on the first trading day following the distribution date. And yeah, today on October 8th, the GameStop warrants are moving. They started the day at about $2.30 and topped out about 10 minutes after opening at almost $6. Now it's kind of stabilized around $3.80 though. So on the first day that these warrants are trading, they're up 67%. So far, it seems like most people have received the warrants they were supposed to get. Even on Robinhood, Webull, Fidelity, Schwab, Interactive Brokers, most people have gotten their warrants. But some people on Twitter complain that they have not received their warrants, specifically on Schwab and Fidelity. And remember, there's only 59 million warrants. There cannot be more than that. So I'm really curious to see if GameStop releases a statement talking about how every warrant has been issued, but then there still is a bunch of people complaining that they haven't received their warrants yet. We'll just have to see. And please remember, none of this is financial advice. We are not financial advisors, and this video is made for entertainment purposes only. I'm sure you all remember that GameStop bought 4,710 Bitcoins, paying about $500 million for that, at an average of $108,000 per Bitcoin. Right now, on that $500 million position, they are already up $76 million. You've probably already heard, but Bitcoin just a couple of days ago put in a new all-time high at $126,000 per Bitcoin. And today it's at about $124,000. And this is a little bit of a longer post, but please bear with me. This guy put some great information and insight in here. GameStop's valuation is still completely broken, even after figuring in future dilution. Hello apes, hope you had a great weekend and enjoying the early days of fall. There were some good points raised in my last post on Friday, regarding the convertible bonds and T-bill interest, so I'm going to address that in this post. First, I calculated the interest income from Treasury bills between September 6th of 2025 to October 3rd of 2025. I should have used August 2nd as my starting date. That's because the figures above are as of the end of Q2, which ended on August 2nd. August 2nd to October 5th is 64 days. Cash and cash equivalents is $8.7 billion for GameStop. Interest income on $8.7 billion. So let's say GameStop has that $8.7 billion, collecting 4.25% interest every year. Every year, that would bring GameStop about $370 million, which is really interesting because that means every day they're making over $1 million in interest. But we're not looking for the full year. We're looking for just 64 days of that. So GameStop made about $65 million off of interest in those last 64 days. And with their 4,710 Bitcoin being at 123,000 for each Bitcoin, that brings their position to $580 million. So their total cash and Bitcoin as of October 5th is $9.3 billion. Convertible bonds dilution. Next, a bunch of apes correctly commented how I didn't figure the convertible bonds into my valuation calculations. So let's do that and figure in future dilution. First, let's see how many new shares will be issued for each convertible note. So their first private offering of the 2030 notes has a principal of $1.5 billion and a conversion rate of 33.5 shares for every $1,000. The conversion price is at $29.85. And so if every note holder turns their notes into shares, that would add another 50 million shares to GameStop's free float. And their second private offering with the 2032 notes has a principal of $2.7 billion and a conversion rate of 34.5 shares for every $1,000. The conversion price on this one is very similar at $28.91. And so if every note holder converted their notes into shares, that would add another 93 million shares to GameStop's free float. So the total potential dilution is that 50 million shares plus the 93 million shares, totaling about 144 million new shares for GameStop's free float. Right now, GameStop has 447 million shares, but with these new shares, that would bring us to almost 600 million shares in total. And remember, they can issue up to 1 billion shares in total. The closing price on Friday, he has 10/23/2025, but that hasn't happened yet, so I assume he means September 23rd, was $25.38. So the diluted market cap of almost 600 million shares at $25.38 per share would bring GameStop's diluted market cap to about $15 billion. Both the 2030 notes and the 2032 notes had options to purchase additional notes. The 2030 had a 200 million additional note, and the 2032 note had an additional 450 million. Both of those options were exercised in their entirety, and the initial purchaser of both notes elected to give GameStop another $650 million at 0% interest. We can now use this diluted market cap to find GameStop's enterprise value. First, let's show our starting number that we will use in our calculations. As of October 3rd of 2025, GameStop's market cap is $11.3 billion, but the diluted market cap is $15 billion. Their cash plus their Bitcoin brings us to $9.3 billion. Shares outstanding as of right now is 447 million. Net income, assumed and annualized, is $665 million, while revenue, which is also assumed annualized, is $4.2 billion. Now, using these numbers, let's recalculate the enterprise value. There's two cases for this. Case A will be if the bondholders don't convert their notes, and case B will be if the bondholders fully convert their notes. And case A will almost certainly not happen, so we're not going to waste any time on this. With case B, full conversion, no debt, enterprise value equals the diluted market cap plus debt minus cash and cash equivalents. So to find EV, we're taking the diluted market cap, we're going to add their debt, which is $0, and then subtract $9.3 billion for their cash and cash equivalents. So GameStop's EV, or enterprise value right now, is $5.6 billion. With full conversion, the 4.2 billion convertible notes become equity, so we can drop the debt component from our calculations. In other words, upon conversion and the issuance of new shares, there will be $0 in debt. But we don't add $4.2 billion to today's market cap. We add $25.38 times 143 million new shares that come from those notes to today's market cap. I'm using the closing price of Friday, October 3rd. This case will happen, so let's only use this going forward for our headline PE and EV revenue and EV net income calculations. An EV of $5.6 billion means that you're paying only $5.6 billion for a business that is generating $665 million in annualized net income, or roughly about 12% yield on enterprise value. Which is a really complicated way of saying GameStop is ridiculously underpriced and undervalued. And so now we're going to look for cash adjusted PE, or cash adjusted price to earnings. The way we find that is by EV, enterprise value, divided by net income. So the enterprise value is $5.7 billion divided by 665 million, or their net income, which equals 8.5. So right now, GameStop is being evaluated at just 8.5 times its annual net income once you remove its cash in Bitcoin. This ratio is normally reserved for stagnant, declining businesses, not one with triple-digit year-over-year net income growth, positive free cash flow, and zero net debt. With an EV to net income of 8.5, two-thirds of the stock's entire market value is backed by liquid assets, while just one-third of its price reflecting the actual business, which is growing net income by triple digits year over year. This is the type of setup that value investors dream of. A profitable business with a fortress of a balance sheet, trading at distressed multiples. A value of 8.5 is insanely low for a company with 17% net profit margins and surging EPS growth. Now let's look at enterprise value to revenue. Enterprise value is 5.7 billion and revenue is 4.25 billion. If we divide enterprise value of 5.7 billion by their revenue, or 4.25 billion, that brings us to 1.33. So for every $1 that GameStop brings in as revenue, the market is only willing to pay $1.33 to own that business. And this is really cheap, even for a declining retailer, but it's absurd for one that's growing revenue by double digits. Now, this is higher than what I posted Friday, but still dirt cheap for a company with 17.3 net profit margins. So GameStop is currently trading at 1.33 EV to revenue, despite having 17.34% net profit margins, surging 675% diluted EPS growth, an explosive 1,039% year-over-year net income growth, and a solid year-over-year revenue growth of 22%. These valuations are absurd for a company growing revenue double digits year-over-year. And just to wrap everything up, we have 8.53 EV to net income, which is incredibly low for a 17% margin company with rising earnings per share. 1.33 EV to revenue, which is super cheap for a declining retailer, but it's ridiculously absurd for one growing double digits. And a $5.7 billion enterprise value, meaning you're only paying $5.7 billion for a business generating $665 million in annualized net income, or about 12% of their enterprise value. By any fundamental standard, this paints GameStop as massively undervalued. This is a deep value growth stock, the likes of which are almost never seen. In other words, don't worry about dilution. And if we didn't offer convertible bonds, would we have even made it here today? And last time I'm going to say this, but GameStop is massively undervalued before we're even factoring in the PowerPack's website revenue. Let that sink in. Oh yeah, and I just wanted to show y'all this. GameStop reposted this. I'll miss when an Xbox was an Xbox. Microsoft is reportedly preparing to announce free Xbox Cloud gaming with ads. There will be around 2 minutes of pre-roll ads before a game is available. I'm super curious to see how they roll this out. GameStop, on their PowerPack's website, you can do silver, gold, platinum, diamond, or starter, but now starter is all sold out. I believe the starters used to be $25 per pack. GameStop's utilization is at about 70% right now. And thank you a million if you've made it this far in the video. I really appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind, please hit that like button for me and consider subscribing. Obviously, this is mostly a GameStop channel, but sometimes we talk about other stocks as well. A few months ago, we were talking a lot about AMD, and since then, the stock is up 48%. And then just a couple of days ago, Sam Altman posted this. Excited to partner with AMD to use their chips to serve our users. This is all incremental to our work with NVIDIA, and we plan to increase our NVIDIA purchasing over time. The world needs much more compute. This made AMD jump like crazy. AMD and OpenAI have a $100 billion agreement over the next couple of years. And we used to talk a lot about NIO as well. Back in August, I posted this picture on YouTube and X when NIO was just breaking out at about $4.80. Just a few short months later, NIO is now at $7.87, up 63% since I posted about it. And the funny thing is, this is actually my most liked post ever on X, and I had 5 reposts. I was super excited about this one. And look at that, 1,900 views. I mean, what? Sorry to toot my own horn, but I kind of have to. And please, consider subscribing. I'm going to be talking about more stocks soon. Either way, thank you a million for making it this far in the video. I hope you found value in this, and God bless you.